You weren't supposed to get this close. But there is another side to connection that few people talk about. The side that arrives after recognition, after the excitement, after the mystery, after the moment you realize this person is no longer just another person. Because true connection doesn't only reveal who they are, it reveals who you are. And sometimes that is uncomfortable. The people who understand us often become mirrors. They reflect our strengths, but they also reflect our fears, our insecurities, our wounds. The parts of ourselves we've spent years avoiding. And that is why meaningful relationships can feel so intense. They don't simply bring comfort, they bring awareness. Suddenly, patterns you've repeated for years become visible. The ways you protect yourself, the ways you avoid vulnerability, the ways you sabotage happiness before it has a chance to grow. Everything rises to the surface, not to punish you, but to teach you. Growth rarely arrives through comfort alone. Growth arrives when truth becomes impossible to ignore. Perhaps that's why certain people leave such a lasting impact. Not because they were perfect, not because the relationship was perfect, but because they awakened something, a question, a realization, a new perspective. And once that awakening begins, you cannot return to who you were before. You begin seeing life differently. You begin valuing authenticity over appearances, depth over attention, meaning over approval. The things that once seemed important start losing their grip, and the things that truly matter become impossible to ignore. You start protecting your peace. You start choosing honesty. You start paying attention to the people who make you feel understood instead of merely accepted. Because there is a difference. Many people accept the version of you they prefer. Very few embrace the person you truly are. And that difference changes everything. When you experience genuine understanding, your standards change. You stop chasing connections that feel forced. You stop begging for attention. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces where you don't belong. You realize that real connection never requires you to become someone else. It invites you to become more of yourself. And that realization is freedom. A freedom many people spend years searching for. The freedom to be seen. The freedom to be honest. The freedom to exist without constantly explaining yourself. Maybe that is why certain people remain in our hearts long after they leave our lives. Not because we are unable to move on, but because they became part of our story, part of our growth, part of our transformation. Some people are chapters, some are lessons, some are blessings. And a rare few become turning points. The moment life quietly changes direction, the moment everything begins making sense. The moment you finally understand that connection isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who helps you remember who you've been all along. And when that happens, something extraordinary occurs. You stop searching outside yourself for validation. You begin discovering it within. Because the greatest connections don't create your value, they reveal it. And once you see your own worth, everything changes. The way you love, the way you communicate, the way you forgive, the way you move through the world. You become softer, yet stronger, more open, yet more grounded, more aware, yet more peaceful. And perhaps that is the hidden purpose behind every meaningful relationship. Not merely companionship, not merely romance, but evolution. The evolution of the human spirit. The journey from isolation to understanding, from fear to trust, from confusion to clarity. And if you've experienced that kind of connection even once, consider yourself fortunate. Because many people spend their entire lives searching for what you have already felt. The feeling of being recognized, the feeling of being understood, the feeling of knowing that somewhere in this vast world, another soul looked at yours and silently said, "I know." And sometimes those two words are enough to change a life forever. Thank you for listening. If this reflection spoke to your heart, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Stay true to yourself, stay open to connection, and never underestimate the power of being truly seen.